The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host Eunice Mugo. Today on the show we're talking about navigating the long distance relationship. How do you navigate around the long distance relationship? Are you in one? What are the challenges? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 2144. I'm not alone. I have guests with me who are going to help us to understand better on how to navigate along long distance relationship. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome guests, starting with you.
Hello viewers, my name is James Kituzi. I'm a relationships coach.
Welcome on the show, Mr. James.
Thank you.
My name is Benjamin, and I'm a mind education specialist, and also I do counseling.
Welcome on the show, Mr. Benjamin. To start with, navigating the long distance relationship. With this current generation, we're having a lot of online dating and a lot of long distance relationship because of pursuing greener pastures. Maybe for instance, just to mention the tough economy situation that you're having globally, you find that one is in Kenya, the other person is in UK, in Australia, name the country, but they're in a relationship. How does one balance or navigate around this, not being able to see your insignificant other for a month, a year or two, or many more? To start with you, Mr. James.
First of all, the world is now a global village thanks to technology and the internet. And so the internet by itself has made meeting people very easy, communication very easy, but at the same time, the internet cannot replace the human touch. There is power when human beings interact and they are face to face like we are talking right now.
Sure.
The conversation we're having now would lack some depth and would lack some meaning if we were to do it virtually, where we don't see each other, there is no eye contact, there's no physical touch, there is no interaction in terms of nonverbal communication. So therefore, the internet by in itself has made life easy in terms of creating relationships and connections, but at the same time, if in the case where you are in a relationship with someone and they're far from you, it cannot replace the human touch, the human feel of personal connection and personal contact with one another. So to navigate that, it's very difficult. Long distance relationships come with their own share of challenges. Like you say, you don't get to see the person that you're in a relationship with as often as you'd like. You don't get to communicate effectively because you see in personal communication, communicating effectively is easy because you can start a conversation and you can talk for hours. But when you're talking virtually, there are other challenges that might come in, maybe connection problems, maybe different time zones. So communicating becomes very ineffective when somebody is on the other side of the world where it's midnight and they need to sleep, and you're waking up on the other side of the world, and you want to have a serious conversation. So you find that communication by itself is interfered with. There are insecurities that might arise from that because you don't know what the other person is up to, what they are doing. And so those insecurities might crop up and actually cause conflicts in the relationship. And those insecurities might even lead to accusations and counter-accusations, which eventually escalate into conflicts that lead to cheating eventually. So it's very difficult to navigate a long-distance relationship, but it's doable. Yes.
Interesting. Coming to you, Mr. Benjamin, I'd like to hear, what is your take on the same?
Number one, I want to know if we are talking about a relationship in a marriage, or we are talking about just a normal relationship.
Both can
One, I always talk about the Bible. And in the Bible, it talks about one thing which is very important, that you guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. When you talk about relationships, when you talk about love, when you talk about feelings, when you talk about emotions, all these things originate from the heart of man. You cannot tell me that you have a relationship with a person who is miles and miles away from you, and then you want to tell me that through talking, you have that warmth of the relationship. Also, when we talk about relationships, the reason why we get firm relationships, they come with strives, they come with fightings. As you continue to talk and then you are talking to one another, because I have my own characteristic, and then the person that I'm in relationship with, they have their own characters and character traits. So you cannot tell me that as we talk through the phone, I'm able to learn the character traits of my partner, and it can never be same as like we are talking now. There are things that I will do, and when you look at me, you feel like this guy is looking down upon me. And then we start. So the only way that I can learn someone that I'm in relationship with is not a person who is far away from me, is a person that we interact many times.
But is talking on the phone via video call, via phone call, via chatting, not communicating. It's still the same. Because to me, correct me if I'm wrong, I see to it that if I'm honest enough and we have agreed to be in a relationship, then I can easily pick when you're angry, when you're tired, when you're not in the mood of talking. And also through the conversation, if you're having long conversation, if you're building on something, if you're not building on anything, we can barely even communicate for less than 30 minutes. There will be no communication. Even though we do, the first week will be so aggressive. Coming the second week, no conversation.
Why is it not aggressive in this case?
No, because we are not building something. But if you're building a relationship and you're intentional about it, then you'll be continuously having something to say, because the distance. One man says distance is not a barrier.
For me, I don't think whether it's true. Because I never saw in the Bible where someone was married and then the wife was living far away from them, and then there was something that they were building, as you say.
See, there was no technology at that time.
No problem. The Bible says what comes around was there.
Okay.
Was there. There is nothing new under the sun. What is there was there, and what is there will be. So when we talk about relationships, there is something that I want us to think about, the world of the heart. And let me say, as normal human beings, as you are living with your partner, they will meet with people and then you start shouting. Why do you shout? Because there is something that you saw and then you felt like, this guy, no. I think what their talk is not that okay. Now you are in America, I'm in Kenya. Then when you meet with people there, how do I tell that you meet with people? When you change, how do I know that you change? People pretend. I can pretend on...
Hold on to that thought. Maybe coming to you, Mr. James, you mentioned something concerning the feeling and the warmth of person being there. In as much as I agree with you very smallly,
Okay.
I'm trying to look at it this way. in as much as now we are talking about relationship of maybe dating relationship and marriage at large, relationship generally. At this time, we tend to send our children abroad to study, but yet we find it so very normal. And at the same time, we have the norm of saying, umeenda shule, you'll have to come back home to settle down. And then you build your life 10, 12 years abroad, and you have to come back to find a stranger. Why not start a relationship? Akiwa, you knew each other before I left. Let's continue this relationship for the long duration of you're doing your own things, I'm doing my own things. And then when I come back, or when you come back, we shall continue from where we have been or what we have been doing. It is still doable. I don't think you're missing any warmth there after all. Simu ni nusu ya kuonana.
Let me say this. Allow me to say this. You said that when it comes to relationships and probably communication, that distance is not a barrier.
Yeah.
But it is in communication, in effective communication.
And a big barrier.
Even the way we are seated right now, when you meet someone, when you're doing even a common handshake, the distance between you two speaks volumes. Friends, the distance, the physical distance between them will be narrower. While people who are not very well acquainted, the distance will be far apart. They'll actually lean towards each other. So distance is a very important part of one, connection, and two, it communicates volumes. So if physical distance, even between people who are physically in the same environment, communicates and affects communication, how about distance when you talk about continents apart?
What is your take on the same? Because now I'm thinking we are having people who do well and thrive perfectly when it comes to long distance relationship. I've seen some. But at the moment, in most cases, how I've seen it and the people I've interacted with are, the lady is here, but the gentleman is not. He's far away because he's working different issues. But now, they thrive very well when they are far apart. At the moment that person comes and decides to settle and now let's continue with our marriage or our relationship.
Now you are talking.
Health break.
True.
What is the sense? If you are living happily while you're away, why should I even consider you being around? If you being around is headache.
One of the reasons why you are happy, it's simply because you don't know each other.
Really? We do.
The only thing that you do, I said you pretend to be very happy. And of course, people who are cheating, they know how to play with that. They'll be so nice in such a way that you cannot even think about any other thing. But when I look at the point, now you're talking like, I think nowadays you're getting there. You know,
allow me to interrupt you, but don't forget your point as I put this on a process so that you continue. You've mentioned someone who is cheating. From where I'm seated, I always say, if I suspect you as my partner you're cheating, then most probably I'm the one who is cheating. But I'm accusing you ahead of time
to
so
cover
that you
yourself.
Yes. So why should I think of my other partner is cheating if at all he or she has not shown any reason
Let
of
me
cheating?
ask you, Eunice. When you are in that distance relationship, when you talk, you only talk when your partner is at home or they're in the office or they choose a place that they have to talk to you. You cannot tell where they are. If I tell you that I'm in a restaurant and I'm seated here, how can you tell that I'm in a restaurant?
Say video call, let's say.
Video call. No problem. I'll choose a place where nobody can come there. So how can you tell that I have somebody who is near me? Even I can go to the house, I have someone I'm living with, and then I go to the bedroom. Whenever I put the video, you are not around. So, I mean, now when you start to live together, you start to know one another. At that point, I don't think whether you talk to a person on phone and then you start shouting and you are very angry, you don't want to talk to them, you want to fight with them. I've never seen.
In which era or generation or what are you
And
living in?
listen to me carefully. Some pretend, you pretend that you're
But
shouting,
for
but
how
you're not
long are
shouting.
you going to pretend?
That's why now when they meet together, as you said, now everything is
Mask
changing.
off.
And now I cannot leave this. For me, when I think about Eunice, this is not the Eunice that we used to speak together. This is not the Eunice that I knew. These are different. It's a Satan Eunice. In short, we can say that this is Satan. I've had people come to me and then they say, me, I think I married a devil. But the one that I was living with was an angel. So what is the problem? What is the difference? The difference is only one. You pretend to know one another, but you don't know one another. That's why, for me, I would not advocate for. I know.
Can I
I know
ask? Can I ask
know
you on a personal level now? Not be getting so personal. If your child, either your son or daughter, decides to go through that trajectory, what would you advise as a father?
People who know the world of the heart, you allow them to choose what they want to do, in as long as you teach them the good morals. They will know what they want. But you cannot tell a person, you'll be living like during the colonial times when people would sit down and then kumbe unalipiwa mahali na ujui. Mtu alianza kulipa rurashio na ujui.
The way that one does happen. Maybe coming back to you, Mr. James, and having to see that the two of you are agreeing on a lot of things. You've mentioned something interesting that I would want to bring up. We have cultures that do allow, like to mention the Maasai culture and the Burana culture. If I give birth to a baby girl and you see her to be a beautiful girl, you start booking her as early at that age.
In town?
Sorry?
In town?
Yeah. Now, even, correct me if I'm wrong, if you've ever heard of it. Personally, I've heard of it. Even Muslims do
Yes,
say
of course.
ahead of time.
Yes, of course.
If the person, even the parents, can book, if I'm interested in someone else's son or daughter, mostly it's daughters. If I'm interested in someone else's daughter and I have a son, as a parent, I can easily go to their parents, discuss, agree, make a down payment in terms of dowry, and if that girl is being brought up knowing that by the end of the day, she's going to be married by my son. That happens. So in such cases, also I want to assume you're going to have a long distance relationship because I have gone to book or pre-book this daughter to be my daughter-in-law. But again, they can't date at that time. And I may even send my son abroad or my daughter abroad. But they have to keep communication because by the end of the day, huyu ndo mtu tumechagua. Then, in such a case or in such a scenario, what is this lady or gentleman supposed to do?
Let me retrace back. In order to answer this, let's retrace back to your question on why long-distance relationships seem very blissful, very peaceful. There is something that long-distance relationships lack, which is very essential for effective relationship building. And that is, number one, communication, effective communication. You can communicate virtually, but it's not as effective as communicating in person. Number two, they lack quality time because of the probably time zones, because of the different schedules and many other differences that might affect their communication. There is no quality time even in virtual communication in terms of video conferencing and that. And number three, which is very important in building a relationship, is conflicts. When you are far apart, it's very difficult to have conflicts And even when you do have them, they are not as escalated as the conflicts you'd have in person.
Let me interrupt you.
Yes.
As you also take a break, and when you come back after the break, you can pick it up from there. You've mentioned something, this is the second time you're mentioning, about conflict.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, who said lazima to fight ndio tuonekane kuna kitu inaendelea?
The masters of relationships.
Then you have to undo the belief and
I think
redo something new.
I think Eunice, you need to understand the world of the heart.
Yes.
No, that one I bet to disagree with you, because I in most of the time wanasemanga wapiganao ndio wapendanao. But I bet to disagree, because us fighting doesn't really necessarily we love each other. Can't we love each other without fighting?
People who have
really?
have a very weak heart. They will fight over a very small thing and they separate.
Where can't we stay in peace without fighting?
Here is why.
Hold on
All
to
right.
that. I hope you're learning as much as I am. I hope you're following, and please send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 2114. We'll be back shortly.